Hello, everybody. My name is Benny, and welcome to the Fool's Apprentice. Today is another one card tarot study. Super excited about this one. And today we have Susan. Hey, Susan.
Hi, Benny. How are you?
Oh my God, believe it or not, it's 5 o'clock 4:09 in the afternoon. I'm tired, but I got a burst of energy as soon as you shut up on my screen.
Nice. Okay. Well, I hope I don't disappoint.
You won't. This has been such a wonderful journey so far. Thank you so much for
Oh,
coming on. I really appreciate it.
no, thank you for doing this because this is a big deal project, as you, I'm sure, know already. It's a
Yeah,
big
it's
deal.
it's going to be a long-term project. It's going to be about a year and a half. But in that time, I'm going to learn a lot about the tarot. I'm going to get to meet a lot of people in our community. I'm going to learn
Yeah.
a lot more than I suspect I'm going to learn, see different perspectives, meet people around the world. So that this is going to be fun.
Yes. No, it's already been, yeah. No, I'm excited for the whole series.
So tell me and the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm not living where I'm from, but I haven't been from anywhere in a long time. So I'm currently in Louisville, Kentucky,
Okay.
but I've lived all over the Midwest and I've been gypsy my whole life.
I
So
was just thinking gypsy, but I'm like, don't say it because some people might.
no, 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 it's okay to say. I'm Irish. It's okay to say it.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, no, it's weird because that's one of the things people want to know where you're from. So yes, I am in Louisville currently, but from everywhere. So
Okay.
I have been, yeah, no, and I've been, God, involved with tarot probably since seventh grade, maybe slumber parties. Where you sneak the big sister's deck down. My friend had a deck of cartouche cards. We used to read for each other with those. She was really
At,
into
at like
Egyptian.
8 years old?
No, 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 eighth grade, like
Eighth
seventh, eighth
grade.
grade.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Like what, like 12, 13,
Yeah, but
maybe.
still, that's young.
I
You're
know
doing
it was sad.
readings. That's
I used to
amazing.
do these things, right? But no, it's funny because in my family, we had tarot cards, board games, and decks of cards. My grandmother would read with playing cards. We'd go camping. There were always cards, always cards. So yeah, no, it's probably been 45-ish years or so
Oh,
of tarot. Yeah. But really only like the last 20 or so with YouTube and this stuff coming on,
only the last 20s.
no, that it became more of an academic study, which not dry and academic, but YouTube's really lended itself to all of us getting a master's in tarot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're here, right? Like, but no, that kind of like real study and like actually learning correspondences or talking about elements or any of that. I didn't do any of that when I was 14. That part didn't matter. It's, are there knives? Did you get the devil? It's like all the stuff that, teenagers are into. It took me a long time to come back to it and actually look like at what are these images, and what like meaning that you would remember. Just that didn't register for a long time.
Now, do
So
you have any social media?
I do. I'm a photographer, so I do have an Instagram and I have a YouTube channel. I intended to be a tarot tube channel. Um, my original videos are still there. There's not much there, but my first three videos was a three-part project. See, I was not as ambitious as you. It was a three-part project where I went through and I pulled cards that I saw as significators for the people I watched on TarotTube.
Hmm.
So, like different readers that I saw online, different tarot accounts online, there were just, there's certain decks where you see a card and you're like, oh, that's Lisa. Oh, that's
Yeah,
Betty. Like you can, you like fit those people into your decks somehow. And it just, I was possessed with it. So I made a part video
that's kind of cool.
where I run through all of that stuff. And I really, after I like purged my need to do that, I haven't made tarot videos. So I kind of thought getting involved here would get me back into,
Okay.
yeah. I
Well, we
have a
can talk.
list of videos I want to make. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that off camera, you know,
Yeah. I like that.
collaborate a little bit. Uh, So we are here to do the Chariot card.
Correct.
Okay, so
And
what cards do you have? The right? Do you have the right weights up? I'm using the Neo Rider.
yeah, that's I have one from the Radiant, which was
Okay,
in my car. That's why I
yeah, move that to your
and
right a little
I
bit.
have a Marseille. I have a
Okay,
Marseille Chariot as well.
okay,
Um, because
yeah,
those are really, that's what people think when they think
okay,
Chariot, right?
yeah,
Like two
definitely.
two two creatures pulling something and the guy with the reins in the middle, right? Like that's where our head goes immediately. Okay,
So,
throw that
so what comes up for you when it comes
from
to the Chariot?
what's funny because for a lot of years to me it's kind of like your two of pentacles, your Libra energy, right? There's like a balance there, and I always saw it as like this dichotomy. It's one or the other. It's black or white. It's appetite versus the will, if you want to get into that. It's you trying to wrangle the stuff that's giving you momentum, that's propelling you. And I always saw that card as like a either or kind of situation,
Hmm.
and I don't anymore. Even though because you know what it is, Benny, it's the guy in the chariot.
Okay,
And it's interesting to me because like you as driver, right? Wrangling the stuff that drives you. Um, the body's the vehicle,
yeah,
not the thing with wheels on it. And I'm not saying I'm throwing that imagery out the window, but if you really concentrate on like your role as charioteer, right? Doesn't matter who's pulling, what's on what side. You've got to figure out the dynamic. You've got to figure out, um, your momentum, your follow through. Ultimately, it's like the spiritual warrior with the reins for
oh,
me now. Not the black horse and the white horse, not
yeah.
um, which has made it really an interesting thing now when it comes up in a reading. I mean, it's my birth card also.
Ah,
So maybe that's part of the obsession with this card. And I mean, it is I have to show you just one image that I saved because um, I'm the right person for this. That's my license plate.
oh, card seven. Yeah, I love that.
So,
Mm.
so I take it very seriously, and it is kind of an obsession. So yeah, no, it's funny because I mean, it's a very auspicious thing. It's usually victory, it's propulsion, it's all those things, right? But what's the vehicle? You know, um, I don't know. I mean, have you ever done that though with a card where kind of the periphery like falls away, and whether it's the lovers or I don't know, a card with a bunch of people. And I'm not saying there's
Yeah,
someone I
so
can,
you're basically looking at the meat and potatoes of a card.
I think so, because
Yeah,
it's
and
kind of
so,
funny. The actual vehicle's kind of fallen away for me,
well,
and it's more about
well, for
process.
me, when it comes to the chariot, it really is about me as a charioteer. I see myself as that person. So when this card comes up, it's really about your own willpower to drive the ship, the discipline necessary to be able to do that, the commitment to do so. So if I take that into modern times, when you drive a vehicle, I remember what it was like, even though it was several decades away. I remember what it was like to drive for the first time. I was scared. I didn't know how to turn the wheel the right way. I didn't know the amount of pressure to put on a the gas pedal. I learned how to drive on a stick, how to take off without jerking everything backwards. And then,
Yeah, it's
but
funny because the hindrances aren't well, the important parts. It's all the detail stuff, like you're talking about,
yeah, but it's me
juggling
who
all
has
that.
have control of all of that. I have to be completely present and committed to make this happen. But as I do it, I gain the confidence to just turn on the key and go. I mean, people, I see women putting makeup on as they're driving. I mean, that takes a lot of confidence to do that. But really, when it comes to the I always say it wrong, the charioteer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's really when this card comes up, it's about making sure that you're in the driver's seat to make things happen. And it could be through willpower, but it also could be with like persuasion, almost like magician like, but it's really
Yeah.
you being the authority or the expert in the room that's going to make everybody else do what you need them to do.
Oh man, the bus driver.
Yes, yes, very much so. Um, and it's now one thing that I learned in doing this study to meet with you is somebody mentioned that he's not holding any reins.
Yeah, no, that
And
is
so,
interesting. He's
so
very passive.
it isn't about brute force, it's about your willpower and keeping the ship righted in the going in the direction that you want. So that was really fascinating to me.
That is an interesting thing that you mentioned because like when you're horseback riding, I used to ride quite a bit. You've got gloves and a crop and spurs and all your tack and equipment. You're on the horse's back. The irony of all this gear is that soft hands on the reins are how you get performance from your
Yeah,
horse. You get a
yeah,
back way off. I mean, that's it. You're not, it's kind of like people talk about with the strength card. You don't have to club anybody.
yeah.
You can subdue with finesse. And to me, I mean, it's interesting. Like, and I think that's why I fight these old images because he's just along for the ride, Benny. He's not. I
I
mean, is
don't
he
see
actively? I I don't
that's interesting.
know.
I do see him. I see him. You know, I see that when the card comes up, it's basically saying now's the time for you to take your place up front. Now is the time for you to
It's
take
interesting.
action, right? Everything is set up aligned for you to lead the way. And only you can, and nothing can stop you. Everything's set for you to do it. Everything.
It re-
That's
it
why
really is
you,
an card.
so that is why you don't need to hold the reins and force people or the situation to happen because it's already there for you to take over. You just got to step into it and move forward.
See, but then my squirrely brain goes back to like this Golden Dawn imagery we're looking at, right?
Yeah.
And yes, those two sphinxes, the appetite and the will, right? Like we're supposed
Mhm.
to exercise dominion over these things that run us. It's kind of like a devil card with wheels, right? Like
Okay.
I mean, that's a stretch, but I just mean in terms of, you know, temptation, drive, like what is it that you are holding the reins of, you
Yeah,
know?
so like these two sphinxes are going in two very different directions, but they have the
Yeah.
same goal because he's telling him them where they need to go. That is
Man,
where
it really
so that is where the commitment comes in, where you're fully invested. Because if you're not in absolute control, if you're not super focused on what you need to do and accomplish, these things are going to run them where they want to go. So it's
no,
like if you're
that
the CEO of a company, you need to dictate what needs to happen with each person so the company ends up where you want it to be, which is, with profit.
yeah, yeah, common goal. Well, see, that's
But
really an action card.
but that is my perspective. And see, that's a wonderful thing about tarot. Just because I see it that way doesn't mean you or anybody else has to see it that way.
Well, and yeah, I know, but me starting by saying just throw the traditional imagery out.
But
I,
but this
I don't
but this
really do that.
but the
But
thing is that even if that's your perspective, I bet somebody else is watching going, thank God somebody believes like I do. Oh my God, yes. Because that's the
well,
thing.
because as many of us as there are that many interpretations. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that is really true. That is really true. Oh, and I guess okay, so it's a reminder to stay flexible when you're wrangling the horses, right? Like it's a reminder that you do have to stay flexible. It's kind of like on the fly when you are driving a car. You have this situational awareness that you cultivated just by doing it over and over, you
Mm.
know? So Yeah, am I an experienced charioteer? I'm starting to feel like one.
And I will say that I don't know if people agree with me or not. I have this. I don't know if I got it from somewhere, but this is what I know is that you don't have to have the same meaning, definition, or nuance, whatever, with any card in the tarot. As long as it's a consistent meaning and theme for you in the tarot, then I think it will work the way it's supposed to work.
It kind of forces you to think about every image like standing alone
Hmm.
instead of like this journey. What this process is doing step by step with each card is, yeah, you'd be able to write a book about each image. I
Yeah.
mean,
What
there
I'm,
is that much with.
I have this idea. I talked to Lisa. I mentioned it in Lisa's video when we did our the Fool, is like taking the Fool card and pairing each and every one with a question and
Mm.
see what the meaning is with the Fool before it and after it. That's
Oh
something
yeah.
I eventually want to do and see what comes up for me with that.
Oh, I like that. I
Yeah.
like that a lot. That's like a painting project or
Yeah,
something.
but like
That's
doing it through the whole 78 cards, the full
that's cool.
before and the full after. And what does that? So you get a different perspective. You get two different sides. So you get what
Hmm.
it means by itself, what it means with the full before it, and what it means with the full after it. So then all of a sudden, I think what will happen is you'll have a broader understanding of the card that you're using full with. I don't know if that's going to work or not. That's a project for a later time, but that's on my list of things to do.
Well, it's kind of like being a teacher or an orchestra leader. You get to know everyone as an individual. You're going to know who should be seated next to whom and when they aren't, or if they are. Yeah,
That's
right. That's, yeah,
great. Yeah, that's a great analogy. That's wonderful.
that's
So
interesting.
do you use symbology at all when you do your
I
readings?
do. I do. And I mean, color's a big one. And I mean, it depends on the deck too. I mean, there'll be times where you just want minimal, I'll pull out like Tarot of the Abyss if I don't want to be assaulted by color. And just like fundamentals, you can just read something monochromatic, and it will quiet things, because I tend to like the colors are what hit me first, and that's not always the best.
I'm very similar. If you watch my videos, I talk about color, tones, hues a lot because those are very important to me aesthetically. Now, they don't really have meaning yet. I just did a tarot chat with, oh, I can't remember. Oh my God. We did the High Priestess. She associated the colors with the chakras and brought the chakra mix in. I was
Oh.
like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, because that's everybody's going to bring you something, right,
And
for the
I'm telling
buffet.
you, I am getting a buffet of stuff that I get to
Yeah.
go back and little by little like digest. And so I think this is going to be great.
So this is your book in the making.
Maybe, maybe. I've got ideas of what I want to do when this is all done. So what do you use in this card specifically when it comes to symbolism?
Um, well, it's interesting because both of these, usually that curtain over the top, to
Hmm.
me, that goes back. The curtain, or sometimes you'll see like a laurel wreath over him.
Hmm.
And what's interesting to me is that historically, chariot being victory, that's very Roman.
Hmm.
And when the Romans did their chariot parades, just this is like, okay, here's a little trivia for you. They had someone ride next to or behind the soldiers with that wreath or the canopy, to remind them that they were mortal.
Mm.
So, yes, parade as conquering hero, but that laurel wreath has like a funerary symbology, which is why I think it's funny in like the Halloween deck, the chariot's a hearse.
Interesting. But I
You
love,
know,
see, that's a nuance of this that I didn't know. I think
and
that's
it's funny because
fascinating.
that's that memento mori, that's what that comes from. That remember that you will die, that memento mori. Yeah, that's an old Roman thing. And it was always like to keep the champions, right, in their place, because yeah, great deeds, great work, great whatever, but we're all gonna die.
That's actually what I was thinking. Death will be your door.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe it's because I'm getting older, but it's a lot easier to see the death symbolism in a lot of these cards. I guess that's what life does to us, right? We get all these experiences and we learn about what different symbols mean. And yeah, it not in a dark way, but I tend to see it that way, which
Okay.
is why I mentioned the hearse card, because yeah, there is an element of like the chariot being the wagon with the coffin on it. Um, yeah. So what is the vehicle? The vehicle's the body. I stand by that,
Okay,
and
cool.
that's relatively new for me because I used to be all about the horses, the two directions at once and balance, and like I'm always struggling for balance and patience and strength, these things that you want to cultivate. And I'm like, no, I think it's the guy.
Okay.
I really, because it's us. It's
Yeah.
us driving whatever
Yeah.
the team is. It's us.
Yeah. I think,
Um,
well, all the things on here just give me a sense of what the importance of the card is. Like the two sphinxes in the front, just really about you making sure that you control everything and keep everything in balance so you can end up where you want to go. The city behind them is like really about releasing yourself of everything, taking a chance and finding your way where you want to go. Um,
it's interesting. One of the decks I have refers to the fool as the seeker. It's
yeah.
an older deck, but in almost every one of the major arcana cards, it's the seeker doing this or the seeker going here. And what they refer to that chariot card is the seeker on his way to perfection, which
Mm,
made me think of you because, like, okay, the fool's apprentice, the fool on his way to perfection. Like,
yeah.
how delicious is that? Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's interesting, the castles and the success, whether that's your spiritual perfection, or if it's just mundane and materialistic, that's probably okay too. Everybody loves it when the chariot comes up.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. When this card comes up, it's really saying, own it, own yourself,
Assertion, yeah.
embrace your confidence. It's not even
Oh
about
yeah.
it's not even about courage or humility. It's about embracing your confidence and put your shoulders back and your chest out and go out there and conquer.
Confidence isn't it that it's wild. I have like so many keywords in my head for that is not one I would have come up with. And there's probably a good reason for that, but that's interesting because I think about momentum and dynamic, but yes, exactly what's required of you to step it up.
Yeah.
um no, that's interesting because it is, there's not the time for contemplating. It is done. You got to take
Yeah.
the reins because
Yep.
it's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this
Well, that,
card is about action, definitely.
that's yeah, no, absolutely.
So
Inner action, I guess, between the ears counts too, though, right? That kind of action.
so when it comes to the shadow version of it or the reverse version of it, do you have anything that you come up with or use in a spread that when it shows up?
I think if it showed up, like if for me it was like and again, it's what are the adjacent cards. It's funny
Mm.
you have me thinking about that
Yeah.
now, but yeah, I think it would depend on where it fell amongst its fellow cards, but um yeah, a shadow. Obviously not being the passive passenger.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the struggle, it may be that that's what it's hitting me over the head with. Is that God? Is that a revelation? Because
Well,
that's it.
I will tell you, I have been surprised when I've had so many people already say that they don't read reversals and talk about it depends on what cards are next to it or in front of it or behind it, which gives me that shadowy kind of thing. Because I don't read,
Yeah. I think just getting the card, like if there's a message in there for you, like whether it's a shortcoming or I don't know, a habit that you need to extinguish, a person you need to let go, whatever the toxic thing is. I think just getting the card would be enough to trigger that reaction in you, like, oh, like it in and of itself, because it's action, there's like stuff to do,
so
it,
if I give, because I've been looking at what would a shadow version of this be, for me is like way too much aggression. You're overpowering the situation. You need to back
don't
off.
force it.
So, backing off the pedal a little bit doesn't mean that you have to stop or why is it taking so long? Why is it so hard for me to get where I'm going? Maybe reevaluating your plan, you know.
That's
So,
good. Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
the kind of stuff that I'm thinking would come up shadow wise with this.
I think if we're just honest with ourselves, when cards come up, if the message is supposed to be that shadow reversal kind of a thing, you know when you see it.
I
You
do.
know, I mean,
I do. You know, and
if you're really being honest with yourself, yeah, because it's challenging you just by showing up. I don't care if it's upside down or not. Yeah, I think we know enough, especially if you're reading for yourself or someone you know. Um, everybody's going to know what that significance,
yeah,
what the
for me,
significance of that
like
is.
I don't read my cards don't come up as, you're being too aggressive. My cards are more like warning signs. Hey, Ben, you really need to look. Do you think you may be being too harsh, too aggressive, too boisterous, too loud? And so it gives
And
me
why
pause.
not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so so my readings, not necessarily negative. They're more like, okay, you need to be careful here because you're on the edge.
Well, if we're being honest and we read for ourselves, aren't they all negative readings? I mean, really, is that
No, no,
no? But I
my,
mean,
well,
because you're
actually,
getting stuff that can shape the goal or shape the
yeah, no, but
direction,
I find
right?
my readings really positive and optimistic. So I was working with Nick. His name is Nick. I forget his last name right off the bat. A Cup of Tarot. He's on Instagram. He's just created a deck. I interviewed him. He's in one of the tarot chats. If you don't know who I'm talking about, I had to go to him and say, "Do you think my positive, optimistic view of life and how I live my life skews how I read the cards?" Because I was worried. And he's like, "No, the cards will come up the way they're supposed to."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
No,
he
they do.
asked me, I'm like, "Are they all positive?" And I'm like, "No, but I don't get any kind of like real negative readings." So then we delve into it a little bit more. And that's when I'm like, I get warnings. I get a lot of warnings.
That's yeah. You do see things that trigger like something completely unrelated, maybe, but yes, I do. You do get warnings, but no, I like negatives. Yes, patience, balance, all the moderation, all the things we're supposed to be doing
Yeah.
and honing, right, to be better humans. That's all in there. If it comes up and you're like, yeah, I'm not that charioteer, not this week. And sorting through why you feel that way can give you those answers.
Now,
Oh, that's interesting. Now,
Now, my favorite part of this series is I want to know what your favorite chariot card is.
oh my gosh. Okay. Well, it's kind of a strange one because it's from the Sacred India Tarot.
Okay.
Um, the Chariot card, and there we go, in
Oh,
the middle. Yeah, it has two
yeah.
passengers. Okay. Um, I don't know. It Hindu myth. It's Krishna and Arjuna, and so we have a driver and a fighter.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is the fighter is taking care of like the things above and the things below, right? So that's like your inner versus outer struggle, your consciousness,
Hmm.
your higher self, and your okay. Your fighter is taking care of all of that while your driver has the reins. Um, and I'm not going to read to you from the guidebook, but I'm going to just read to you from the guidebook
Okay.
because this hits on exactly what we've talked about. And the write up on this card in this deck is from the Katha Upanishad, which was written like between 500 and 100 BC, maybe. So we're talking like really early writing about a chariot
Okay.
specifically. And what's interesting is in this writing, in this holy book writing, it says, know the body for a chariot and the soul for the master of the chariot. No reason to be the charioteer and the mind for the reins only. The senses are the swift steeds and the objects of sense are the path they traverse. So you're the enjoyer, right? But it's about this epic inner struggle that you're equipped for, right? Um, I find that interesting that like that metaphor was the chariot like 2,500 years ago, right? Like
That
that's
is cool. That's very
I
cool.
know. And there's a lot of depth. This book is I highly recommend the guidebook, even if you don't get a copy of the deck. It really goes into the Hindu mythology of it. But what is Hindu mythology? It's the story of consciousness, right? So no, I tend to see it that way. And it's interesting because they're both intense and in the battle, right?
Yeah, they're
But
all very present, very focused.
the struggle part is kind of up to you. Like that's the deal. And it's funny because like that body as chariot, that just blew me away. So yes, plus the palette of this card, come on. It's like it's got
It's,
everything.
it's interesting that the body itself is a chariot and the mind itself is a charioteer. That is
Ha,
something really to
right?
contemplate.
Yes. So
Wow.
see, at that point, that laurel wreath or that canopy of stars, right? That has to be in the back of our mind because we need to remember.
I am telling you, this series is blowing my mind. Every single person so far has given me something really deep to think about.
I
Yours is
love it.
the body is the chariot and the mind is the charioteer. That is mind blowing to me. That is something I'm going to sit with for a long time and not probably never really get a clear answer, but that is so
No, that's
cool.
and I sum it up, and when I read for people, a lot of times what I will tell them the chariot card is for them team player, but all by yourself.
Hmm,
You
interesting.
know,
Well, let me show you mine. I love mine.
what is? I know I'm so excited to
When
see what
I
yours is.
first saw it, I could not stop laughing. There are two cards in this deck, the Fantastic.
No way! Oh my god!
There,
Okay, I don't know this chariot.
there
I
are
don't
two
know.
cards in here that I absolutely adore. But when I
Okay.
saw the charioteer, when I saw the chariot, it just made me laugh because I thought it was so ingeniously done.
Oh my gosh, is that cool? Oh, see, now that
That is
wow.
so interesting.
No, it is. I love that it's a spiral that this there's a lot to unpack there, Benny. What is the flower? Can you tell? Oh, it is roses, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I
Oh,
love
that's
about it, one, is just aesthetically, it's the easiest way to say it, like, this is so dumb. I think it's amazing. Because I'm like,
but
really? A seashell? I mean, snails with bugs? Like, really? But the
right,
other
but it's
thing,
a whole thing. It's like all your baggage.
yeah, but what I also like about it, it gives me this idea that no matter, we have this idea that this charioteer thing is this big, huge thing. But
Exactly.
even the little things, uh,
Tiny chariot. Oh my God, tiny
yes, need you to be very
chariot.
focused and need you to, take charge and use your will.
Oh.
So this card reminds me that it doesn't have to be the big things in life where you have to take the reins.
Oh my God, whimsy's not painful, is it?
Yeah. But you don't know this deck very well?
I don't know that deck. No, I have a couple of theirs, but I've never really even been through that deck.
There's
Yeah.
so many
No,
walks. You should do a
clever.
walk. I will tell you that there's only one card I don't like, but it took me a long time to get it, and that's the Magician. Aesthetically, it's also not my favorite card, but the Hermit in this deck, oh my gosh.
What is it with the magician? Do we just not like him? Is that it?
Oh, I think
No,
the
I mean
Magician is great.
he's kind of a show off. I don't know, but yeah, that deck. I'm curious about that deck.
It's a really good deck. I don't use it very often because I have so many other ones I really like, but I wanted it in my collection because
Yeah.
I will. It's
Oh
just,
no, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
well, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This was wonderful.
Of course, you're welcome. Yes, this is wonderful, Benny. You're doing a great thing. Thank you. Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming by. And until next time, everybody, my name is The Fool's Apprentice. You have a good day.
Bye bye.